The Minnesota Vikings absolutely shellacked my Atlanta Falcons in Week 14, and their reward now is they get to host the Chicago Bears, who continue their struggles even after firing their former head coach Matt Eberflus. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this NFC North Week 15 matchup between the Bears and Vikings. But before we do that, we are 300 subscribers away from our year-end goal of 6,000 for the channel. Can't believe that's even possible, so thank you to everybody that has subscribed and joined the channel. Let's see if we can hit that goal this week. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win and why. And Ryan, I had to watch the Minnesota Vikings absolutely kick the Atlanta Falcons, but it was like competitive for a second there, and then we just kind of forgot how to play football. And then Jordan Addison was just wide open multiple times. Justin Jefferson was wide open multiple times. Which wasn't good to see, but also that's why Minnesota Vikings are where they're at and why the Falcons are where we're at. And so, but in general, though, I thought the Vikings played well. I thought it was a pretty consistent game, just kind of through and through. We had coverage breakdowns that Sam Darnold took advantage of. We actually got to Sam Darnold and got a couple sacks, but then several times he was able to break away and show his mobility and connect on some deep touchdown passes. And so Kevin O'Connell is, I think, an amazing head coach, and it's as we're seeing now, like with the results of Sam Darnold, very curious. And like if Daniel Jones also, if he stays there, like if he keeps developing, that would be very interesting, because I think they just have a great organizational system and setup over in Minnesota here. And you know who doesn't? The Chicago Bears. They're really struggling right now. And just in general, they were struggling already. There were some good things going on, but fired Matt Eberflus, which was deserving, absolutely deserving. But then just looked inept against San Francisco 49ers, especially two in the first half. I think I saw I'm sure there's a screenshot somewhere on the internet, but I think they had 4 total yards in the first half.
At one point, San Francisco had 9 first downs, and Chicago Bears had 9 offensive yards.
Yeah, so something like that. Yeah. So like it was really bad. And so there's so much talent on this team here, but want to throw it over to you too, because if people can see into the future, you probably know who we're going to pick for this game. But talk about the Bears specifically. What do you think is their biggest problem? Because they have a lot of talent, but like where, like if you're the GM for the Bears, like what are you trying to address first?
This offensive line, I think, needs to be addressed. I actually like this defense. They have a lot of talent on this defense. I just think without Matt Eberflus, you don't have the conductor pulling the strings, like to get everybody in the right spot, calling the right plays and whatnot. So I think that is there. Like that's the problem there. But for me, I guess the biggest problem is just going to come down to coaching. I think you need to go out and get a talented offensive mind to come in. That is going to do so much, I think, for this offense. Going and getting a Ben Johnson or a Bobby Slovic or I forget the Cardinals offensive coordinator to come in and be the head coach. He was one of the hot commodities last year. So we'll see if he's won this year. But like, just go out and get a good offensive mind that can just develop Caleb Williams. Well, I want to talk about I have a growing frustration with Caleb Williams at the moment. He almost like refuses to make plays in structure at times. Like he almost is like looking for the scramble, and that's just not how the NFL works. So I would say 60 to 70% of the time, you just have to take what the defense gives you. And then if you can go and make a play on like a third down and extend a play and get a big play, or if you like immediately get flushed out of the pocket, that's one thing. But like there are multiple times a game where I feel like he needs to just be in the pocket, doing his drop and then getting the ball out on time. And he's just not doing that right now. And it is not as a Bears fan, but as like somebody who likes to watch football, it is frustrating to watch because I would be very frustrated as a receiver of his, like running the route and not being in like being in the right spot, but him not even, this doesn't even seem like he knows where he's looking at times.
Yeah. So, well, and that's when they've had their success over these past couple of weeks, it's been on these fourth quarter drives, but it kind of has been like, like backyard BS. Be like, we're scrambling, like just go and get open and I'll try and find you. And it's almost like maybe his comfort zone. And it's like, so it's good that he's good in those situations, but there's something to like the start of these games, and the same thing happened like in week 13. It was a very slow start for them in Detroit as well, as well as for San Francisco, and that's kind of been their bugaboo. Just offense seems to take a second to get going here, and so it's a learning curve. You see all the talent with him in particular, and so it's like they'll figure things out, but like you do need to get the right head coach in there. I think Ben Johnson would be great. Ben Johnson, to me, as I think the number one coach on the market when it comes to these teams here. So, but to your point as well, going back to the initial question, I think offensive line needs to improve as well. Wouldn't be surprised if they go there. To me, I look at it defensively, and is there talent there? Yes. And like moving on from Matt Eberflus, even though like it's the right move, how does that change the defense? Like I could see that maybe being a reason today. But one of the things though, they've been struggling. This defense has been struggling for some time now. So it's interesting. Before their bye, which was in week 7, so they had 6 games. Most yards that they gave up was 322 yards, and that was to the Rams in week 4. Since then, they've given up more than that in every single game. And in 4 games now since their bye, they've given up over 400 yards. So they have. Jeez. I agree. There's talent there, but at the same time, though, it's like, like whatever's happening there, like they're not doing things well at all, and it's not like they're giving up a lot of passing yards or a lot of rushing yards. Like they've had some games where they've given up significantly more than the other, but they've given up over 100 rushing yards in every game. They've given up they've had a couple of games where they were able to keep them under 200, but nearly over 200 every single game during that stretch as well. So there's something going on defensively where they're not going to get it fixed this year. This is going to be an off-season regime change that's going to be coming through most likely, but something's going on defensively. And that's where, to me, kind of looking at this game with Minnesota and what they did to our defense, not even saying like our defense is that great. Even though I know Vikings fans are probably laughing at this. One of the most embarrassing plays by our cornerback was the Justin Jefferson one that today, where you just saw this cornerback like looking around on an island, and Justin Jefferson's like 10 yards away from him, wide open. And then I think it was D. Alford, and then he's like tripping over his feet. And it's one of the most embarrassing cornerback plays I think I've ever seen. But I just look at the weapons that the Vikings have, and like when you look at Sam Darnold, and you have a great offensive system as we talked about as well, just great coaching system in general, and also including Brian Flores. But then the Bears are going to have to somehow find a way to cover Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, who has been coming back and has been playing well. And on top of that, then too, the Vikings can run the ball decently well. Aaron Jones had himself a good day today. What are they ranked currently right now? They're 17th in rushing yards allowed, so technically below average if we're looking at the field of 32. But that's still fine. I mean, they're averaging 113 rushing yards per game. They're 8th in passing yards allowed. So, to me, when I kind of look at this game, and one of the many reasons why Minnesota is going to win this game is how is Chicago going to stop this team, because they haven't been able to stop anything since their bye week.
No, exactly. And that, for me, I think, like, also another reason why I feel like Minnesota's going to win. Chicago's 0-6 on the road. And not only are they 0-6, like they are getting their butts beat on the road pretty consistently. So at Arizona, 29-9, at Detroit, that was a good game, I guess, 23-20. But it was not close until the end. And then 49ers 38-13 today. So like they're pretty consistently losing by good margins on the road. And so I just feel like Minnesota is going to be the much better team. They've seemed to regain their stride offensively as well. And like we talked a little bit about Chicago, Sam Darnold has kind of started to play better these past couple of weeks. Like they're getting hot at the right time. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, T.J. Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, like all this cast of characters in the skill position player groups for this Minnesota Vikings team has just been playing at a really good level these last few weeks. They're 11-2. They're one game off of the division, and I believe they still play Detroit.
That's a Week 18 game. That'll be if that's for the division. Like, it's very easy, like prime time.
It still says to be determined for the time, and so that is very much a Sunday Night Football flex.
Absolutely.
It's going to be.
Well, I would say in Minnesota they can absolutely beat Detroit. It's that
Oh yeah,
they have. It's like kind of what what Detroit's weak at. It is like Minnesota's strengths. Like there's not too many weaknesses on either team, but Minnesota is very aggressive defensively, which I think can get Jared Goff a little bit uncomfortable. On the flip side, too, Minnesota, they've had those weapons that we spoke about earlier, and a much improving secondary for Detroit, yes, but I would say probably their secondary is probably their weakest part. And they still play pretty well, like Terran Arnold, Carlton Davis. You get Kirby Joseph also, and so there's opportunities for them to win that. Like Minnesota is definitely still is absolutely within striking distance in this division, like 100%. You know, that is a very obvious statement, but they can beat Detroit. Like,
well,
how high and mighty Detroit is, they can take them.
They talked to Byron Murphy after the Falcons game today, and they were like, people need to be talking about us. Like, we're a really good team. And like, I had kind of forgotten because Detroit has been so good. You've had other teams in the NFC kind of come on. Like, this is a really good Vikings team also. So, I mean, I feel like we've just been singing the Vikings praises this whole video, but just to give our official predictions, I think the Vikings kick the crap out of the Bears. I don't think the Bears, they're kind of running around like a chicken with their head cut off at the moment. And it's the kids are at home, the parents left. Like there's nobody there, I think, to really kind of get the Bears on track right now. And I think the Vikings
it got personal. It got really
what?
Yeah, like the parents left their kids at
the kids are at home and like there's no parents around. Like there's nothing. What?
No, I'm right there. I totally get what you're saying, and this is almost worst case scenario, I think, for the Bears on how the season could have gone. The second worst case scenario would have been like Caleb Williams like towards ACL, you know, and like you spent your number one pick on him, but it's like at least he's getting reps and he's going through an NFL season, and you're getting good game film on him on how to improve. But this is probably worst case scenario, I think, for how this season could have gone for Chicago.
Yeah, I think so. Looking at Chicago, I remember we did our floor and ceiling in the off season, kind of what we thought for each team, and I think this is below the floor. I'll have to go back and check, but this has to be below the floor. I think
5 and 12. I think we thought was their floor.
Was their floor? So
yeah.
If they lose out,
subscribe, and we'll talk about it in our season recaps come January for all of our off-season content.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this one here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on how much you think the Minnesota Vikings are going to beat the Chicago Bears by. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.